Yeah, guess so.
Welcome to Crossing Darkness, a podcast about tabletop role-playing games with a focus on the world of darkness. We are broadcasting over Twitch every Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Time and are open to answering questions from the chat during the show. I'm your host, Frozen Fallout. My co-host is Motorori, who helped me create this podcast, as well as a 40-person, 4-table Gen Con event.
Oh, hi.
Are you going to do your part?
Oh, sorry.
You just totally forgot, huh?
I
Welcome to
was
live
trying to-
TV, people.
I was trying to figure out how to get the chat box back on the Twitch stream because I popped it out last time and now it's just gone. Anyway, hello everyone. And today we have special guest Coder Fasteele, who is the storyteller for the Hunters in our 40-person 4-table Gen Con event.
That's
how
right.
How have you been doing, Coder?
Been doing good. Been keeping busy, keeping warm. How about yourselves?
Oh, doing good, doing good. I'm in Pennsylvania right now, actually, which is very different for me. I'm not usually in Pennsylvania. I'm usually in Madison, Wisconsin. So it's been a
Yeah.
little bit of a time zone change for me, and trying to figure out how to work around the 12 hours of nighttime driving that we did. So we're all like
Yeah, no
super jet
kidding.
lagged.
Jeez.
Are you in the mountainous area of Pennsylvania?
No, we're in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, relatively flatter over there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool little city. We did a little running around in the city this week.
Rad.
Yeah, got to see the Liberty Bell.
Bung.
So, Coder, tell us a little bit about your gaming history. How'd you get into role-playing games?
How did I get into role-playing games? Well, well, I don't know. I was always into reading when I was a kid, and I always had access to like King Arthur stories and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of like what got me into like fantasy in general. It was just kind of like that sort of golden age of story, like the knights and good versus evil and King Arthur and Lancelot and all the Percival and all the different story, Mordred and everything, and I read that a lot as a kid. I read Tolkien. I learned a lot of Tolkien. I remember reading that when I was in like fourth grade. And like fifth grade, and then actually I read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which added kind of like a weird twist, I think, into my universe. So like all of like my very young, before sixth grade like era, I read all of this like weird, zany but fun fantasy type adventure stuff, and
Nice,
I think
yeah.
that was like probably my catalyst.
Yeah, did
Um,
you read the Silmarillion a lot too, didn't you?
yeah, I've read it numerous times. Yeah, I like to think of myself as kind of like a Tolkien scholar to some degree. Yeah, like I could like name drop some cool elves from like other times.
So if you got into like a Tolkien off with Stephen Colbert, do you think you could keep up at all,
Ooh,
or you might
I don't know. That's a formidable opponent there,
he
Stephen
knows a
Colbert.
lot.
Yeah, yeah. He'd be dropping some names of the Elder Maiar for sure.
So what was the first role-playing game, tabletop role-playing game that you played?
Oh, sure. You know what? It's kind of funny. I think back to it, and it's actually Legos. My little brother and I made a dice rolling game with character sheets and all kinds of stuff with Legos, and we built whole cities when we were kids in our rooms. Like we would take our door off of our closet, put that on the floor, and that would make a perfectly flat, area to play and build a huge fucking Lego city on. So we both did that, and I got all like the knight stuff, and he got all like the islanders or whatever, and we would raid each other, but we would use these cards and roll two six-sided dice at each other, and whoever won like got all the gold and stuff, like all the little gems and like money, gold pieces, and or maybe capture some people. And so we would do that, and that was a ton of fun. And we also had like a way of like gauging experience points based upon what level they were and all that kind of. Anyway, so that, but really like the first like commercial like tabletop game that I ever played was Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition.
Oh yeah, good
Yeah.
addition. I liked so you know all about Thaco then.
Oh, all about it. Yeah, like anyone, we all know all about FACO.
To hit armor class 0, the
Yeah.
calculations that one must make.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
also,
it's an interesting one. I finally got it one day, and then we just switched to 3.0. Pretty sure that's exactly what happened. Like, I don't think I could explain it well anymore. Yeah, it's 2 hit at armor class 0, but what does that mean?
right.
Like, it doesn't really clarify it any better to say it out loud.
So
You
do you
go,
rem-
oh.
so do you remember
Sorry.
any of your like first campaigns that you kind of went through, or what your first character was like?
Yeah, I was playing it was a paladin. It was a pre-rolled paladin, and I don't know what if it was like a pre-built like module or anything like that, but it was in a well, you'll remember Matt's old basement when he lived with his grandpa. So like we would play down there, and that was like it was a long, or no, maybe it was at Joe's house, or maybe even Matt's house. This was pre Matt's grandpa era. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I was about to say because yeah, you definitely were gaming with Matt before I got
Yeah,
involved
no,
with the
it
group.
was. I take that back. Yeah, this was his. I'm confusing his grandpa's house with his mom's old house. Anyway, we played that, and I was a paladin, and Matt was the storyteller. Joe was there, and I forget what Joe was playing. Chuck was there. Chuck was playing a. He was playing Delavan, a dwarven fighter, actually.
Oh yeah,
Interestingly enough, yeah. So from whatever campaign that comes from, I guess that's what we were playing.
yeah, awesome.
And I just remember like we were like at the towards the end of the module, we were on the top of like the roof of the inn, surrounded by zombies, and like fighting them all as best we can. Like we were like level 3, so like we didn't really have that much like power or strength or hit points. So it was just like hold the door, kind of tactics and hope for the best. We're pretty sure we're gonna jump off this roof and hopefully like crowd surf to the other side. And like a wyvern came and got us that somebody knew or something like that. Very Tolkien-y save the Eagles moment. So but yeah, that's kind of like the highlight I remember about that. But yeah, I was a paladin. I got to use my lay on hands because people were getting hurt, and I had a cool sword that was some form of good or light or something like that. So it did extra damage to the undead. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I always love those kind of crazy first campaigns that you kind of get into because they're always there's some crazy stuff going on. Like my first Dungeons and Dragons game that I played was we played with a bag of beans. So it's like 101 beans that are in the bag, and you just put the bean down and roll on the chart and see what happens next. And we went through like I don't know, like 10 or 20 beans or something like that. Got like a um,
Oh,
one of those spaceships. It's not a spaceship. It was what the hell is that called? The space version of D&D.
is that Spelljammer?
Starjammer?
Spelljammer. Yeah. Yeah, so
I've never played it. I've only ever heard it described.
we kind of played a little bit with it. We kind of used it to do I think I've ended up on one of the like main trade hubs or something like that of there when Roy was DMing way back in the day because him and his brother did a ton of Spelljammer stuff.
Ah, neat.
So let's take a look here. So what have you been up to for gaming during the pandemic? Have you been up to any kind of gaming during the pandemic at all?
Sure.
Or
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, I mean, so a ton of, personal gaming. But during the pandemic here, I have learned how to play several board games that I've been meaning to learn how to play, like XCOM. Finally figured that one out. And what else do we have here? I just got some other board games too, like Starfarer's Catan, which is pretty neat. But as far as like tabletop gaming, yeah, we've had to find like online solutions to gaming because of course COVID. So we're separating. So we need tools that allow us to like organize and tell our story, but keep our notes straight, keep things moving forward, keep people interested, that kind of thing. So yeah, we've been utilizing like Discord obviously for communication, which has been super handy. I think this platform existing free of charge the way it does for people who just want to sign up is super cool. We would use some other method, like we would use like TeamSpeak or Ventrilo or whatever else is out there if this wasn't the solution. But this has both audio and video and sharing, screen sharing, and it's scalable. Server power, that you can pay for it or tip, the owner of the server.
Yep.
So that's really neat, I think. So obviously we've been using this, but we've been using Roll20. I think. Well, you've been in some of the games we've played. I think you actually were the DM of one of the. We played Pathfinder 2. Were you DMing that, or was I DMing that? I don't remember.
Yeah, I
think it was you.
DM'd the Pathfinder 2 game
Yeah.
where we were doing the you guys were in what the hell is that setting?
Oh,
Inner Sea.
yeah, the Inner Sea. Yeah, exactly. We were all like, pirates. Well, I was a pirate anyway, but we were on a ship. We were like heroes, who were called to a great wizard's tower to do, legendary quests. And we were all, heroic types, of course. And so we made it there and ended up on this quest for crystals and, fought, great beasts and things along this, desert path. In what was it, Casimir or something like
Casimir,
that?
yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah, something like that. Catapesh. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and you were in
So
that
we-
campaign, Mike, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the game where we had to stop gathering at Coder's house because of COVID.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Was-
was right at the beginning of all of this.
Well, we were
yeah,
playing for a while before that.
we were.
Yeah, we were. We
So
definitely
we-
had a
we
lot
started-
of games over at your place, and then we switched
Yeah, we-
over to Roll20.
That's
I
right.
think we started fall of 2019, and then it was at some point
right.
in March last year we were like, God, can't get together anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. So then we decided to kind of switch it up a little bit, and we started playing my Starfinder campaign right up until like my work started getting super crazy, and I had a couple weekends I think in a row where how it happens when you miss a couple games and people start not showing up, or it's getting harder to start, that kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
ended up saying, hey, I'm calling it for now. Let's put it on hiatus. So, but yeah, we were just talking about getting it started again this month on Saturday, March 20th, maybe. So we'll see. Gonna
So
talk to everybody. And see if I
Are you
can get a
thinking about
post
doing anything with broadcasting that at all, or recording the game at least?
I hadn't been I wasn't going to make any effort to do so because we had already begun the game. It wouldn't be a start to finish type thing. I mean, if it was going to be just let's just use this material to brush up our skills and editing and see what we get and just play with it kind of thing, it would be good for that. But I don't have the bandwidth personally to take that up and do anything meaningful with it right now.
Right.
Someone else is welcome to. It's fine by me. I don't care.
Oh, it would depend on the other players too. I'm not sure if they're into streaming.
Yep.
Yeah, I would think that we should definitely always just broadcast that could be an option unless it's a deal breaker, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So, can you tell us a little bit about your experience, if you remember at all, what it was like running a game at Gen Con? I think was this the first game that you'd ever ran at Gen Con? Was our Madison Under Siege Hunter game that you ran?
Yeah, I can't think of anything that I had run before that. I thought it was a big thing. I think that just getting that number of people organized to do one thing and play one thing on that scale, was just a big question mark in the first place. Was anybody really gonna sign up for this thing? Now I think we've been to con and we know what the I think the temperature is, and people are thirsty for this particular I think genre, right? And
Mhm.
and setting. So it filled right up. There was almost no problem. I think we had
Yeah,
we
Hunter
had
was
40
super
people.
popular because nobody runs Hunter. So,
Yeah, and I like Hunter. I think it's neat because it has the the sort of weakness of mortality, but focused through hyper focused through a lens, and given these fragile mortals some stupid power that allows them to, for a moment, contend with the other.
Right.
Yeah, that's
But
why
yeah,
their
that's not
powers are
something.
called edges because it
Yep,
gives
it's
them an
just your
edge.
edge.
But
Yeah,
it's
if you're a
not
hunter, you
much.
should be almost always using your power to run the fuck away. Unless you're there to just clobber something, and then you're using your second power to run the fuck away.
Right. Although there are some really nasty powers that the hunters do have.
Yeah,
And
you can
That's
build a
high
team that.
rolls.
Yep, and just yeah, it's just like the other World of Darkness type materials where you really get to put a lot of paint on your doll, so to speak. There's a lot of different options that line up and like allow it to play. You know, I think, like one thing I think that you should have if you're going to play Hunter is you should make backup sheets for people. Just be like, look, you're playing a glass cannon. Just remember to, with a smile, pick your packet to know who you're going to be with your second character already, because hunters are not long lived.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's a good idea actually. I didn't think about that. It's a great
It's
idea
just
to.
if you could plan ahead and just be like, oh, yep, that was expected. People are like, oh, yep, that was expected.
So you had come up with a pretty crazy story for your hunter background. Do you remember any of that story that you'd kind of developed? I know it was a
Oh,
long time ago.
sure. Well, it was years, yeah, sure, but not so many years. So like the main premise of it was kind of a kind of duality, right? There were two hunters that kind of got to know each other in Vietnam for whatever reason, like way before the reckoning. Like these guys woke up and became hunters and saw things, and you know, and others did too during that tumultuous time, and they didn't survive. But these guys were better than the rest, right? And they were a team. So this is like Magneto and Dr. X
Yeah,
kind of
Professor
situation.
Xavier.
Yep, and they don't have, and maybe their powers didn't. Maybe they did a little bit, like, you can't replicate uh, Magneto really with
Yeah, not with
that.
hunters.
Not with Hunter, but like kind of like similar ideas. So these guys were, Navy SEAL type fighter, trained, commandos that survived that and became like these older dudes in the 90s. I think that was our setting, like early 2000s, late 90s, or something like that. And so they were running the Hunter School, or one of them was. The other one was running like an underground thing to try and take it all down. Just like Magneto eventually started doing. It had an alt school for hunters.
Mhm.
Yep. So kind of, that was just the bones, the biggest bones right there.
Mhm.
Alternate school, good hunter school, dark hunter school. And are either of them really wrong? I mean, you're fighting the fucking undead. Who can say?
Right.
You have the. So that was like part of my game was this sort of temptation to let it all be free and just indiscriminately kill. But a big part of the 4-story game was cooperation. So how, and our team of players were playing the cooperative team, not the alt school of kill all of the anything not human, kill them. Like that was their school.
Mhm.
So it was a little bit of a conflict with that, and then having to also get along with.
Oh, I think you lost your connection there, dude.
Sorry,
Yeah.
what's that?
Oh, I got
You're
we just
back.
lost your audio for a little bit there.
Oh, I knocked something down and it made a bunch of noise, probably. So, but yeah, it was like the werewolves, the vampires, and the mages, and then there was the hunters, and then there was the evil hunters. So, like the hunters had to deal with this whole big spread of everybody, and then also an alternate version of themselves that were being dicks, and breaking things and screwing up their relationships. Because how do you know who's a good hunter and an evil hunter? They're just hunters.
Right. Yep.
Like if you're a vampire, you don't know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, none of the. I remember there was
So
some problems about that.
yep. So yeah, that was kind of the bones of like the hunter school and like how they were operating. And I left it to the players to decide how they wanted to interact with all the people. And I honestly, from that point, I was drinking and smoking, and I wasn't paying a lot of attention. they're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, the one thing about our games was it was really nice. We got to, because we had so many people, we had so much background on each character, and we had so much connection to all the other characters. Besides, some of the combat-oriented stuff that we had to be involved in for the tabletop version, even a lot of the other tabletop stuff that we did, which was like, politics and stuff like that. It was nice just to be able to sit back as a GM and really just let your players do their thing. You didn't have to really get directly involved in a lot of stuff unless you were right in the midst of like a combat, basically. Because we didn't do a lot of like us playing characters, as GMs. A little bit with your like alt school that you had, and stuff like that. But in general, we let the players do a lot of the role playing with each other.
Yep, there were a few times where they definitely were like, "Hey, I want to address, this character specifically, and you're the GM for this, so I need you to be that." Like, okay, you bet. Definitely, happy to do that, and so acted in that far. But yeah, largely, no, they were able to just go around, pick up clues, kind of figure it out, talk to the other teams and the members that they, we had strategically like baked into the whole plot who they would know and how. And what that meant, so they got to kind of follow all those trails.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so yeah, definitely lots of good stuff there. Do you remember any specific or like any player that kind of stood out or anything that kind of stood out to you about that game?
Yeah, we had several players who were like very heavily invested just in like playing a hunter because you're like as you had stated earlier, nobody runs hunter, so the real hunter enthusiasts who wanted to play, were there, right? So there was I think like my primary player, I forget her name now. I think it was like maybe Julia or
It was Joanne.
Joanne. Yeah, that was her
Hunter
name.
Joanne. We
Yeah,
called her
so
Hunter Joanne because we know another Joanne.
yes, that makes sense. So Hunter Joanne, yeah, I remember her. So she stands out the most because she was the most invested in her character and in the story, and what was happening with, the two schools and the leader of her school and why, like the leader of her school would not attack the leader of the other school, just would not do it, wouldn't call him out, all that. So there was like this big mystery behind that relationship, and they never actually got to the heart of it. We didn't write that far. I never wrote that far in, and we didn't get to play it. But so like there was this big strife where, and so if you're playing it for in the future, keep in mind that there's this sort of like love between the two main characters, the two soldier types or whatever, that they won't betray, like the one won't betray the other even though the other one's already betrayed the other one.
Yep.
Kind of thing. He just won't do it.
Yeah, and we did continue because you only did it year 1, and then we did year 2 and 3, and Joanne showed up to all
Oh yeah, I
all
bet.
3 of them, and she was like super excited about because Mike took over Hunter actually after you.
Yeah, I took over Hunter.
Oh, super. Yep. Thank you. How
I
did
took
it
it
go?
I took it in a different direction,
Sure.
but not too different. There was still a Hunter Academy, but yeah, Joanne was still. I think every time we see her at a convention, because we saw her a bunch of times at like Origins and other places, and she would always stop us and talk to us and be like, "You got to run more Hunter."
I believe it.
Yeah, she was very enthusiastic.
Totally.
Although the thing that I remember about her was I think it was because that first game we ran was in 2018 at Gen Con, or no, it was earlier than that.
It was
Doesn't matter.
2015, I
But
think.
we were there a little bit early on day 2, and we started drinking outside. We were getting gin and tonics and sitting outside and
Yep.
smoking, and she just came and sat with us. And I think it was like 2 or 3 minutes before our start time. Frozen Fallout here comes and like runs up to us outside, and he's like, "What the hell are you guys doing? The game's starting in 2 minutes." And we were like, "We're sitting with a player. It's okay because there's a player here."
That's right.
It all turned out really well.
This is all part of it.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, doing it live. The chaos.
Yeah,
That's
those
right.
were fun but draining days.
Draining. Well, it was 10 hours.
Yeah, it's 2
Yeah.
days, 10 hours. What was it?
Ugh,
Friday and
Friday and Saturday.
Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
the
Or
whole
10-hour
was
point
it
of
games are
it.
too
Thursday night?
much.
Was it Thursday and Friday? No, it was Thursday and Friday, wasn't it?
Well, it might have been Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
And the whole point of it was to get enough hours to get the free hotel on top of the free badge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole point of having 10 hours for 2 days was so that we could each have so many
paid, yeah.
hours underneath us.
And it wasn't even worth it. Like,
Well, yeah, it took doing it to find out that it wasn't worth it.
yeah. No, I mean, like, it was definitely like a fun experience. Like, you're going to Gen Con, you're there for all day gaming, in some
Yeah.
form or another, whether it's to receive or participate or both. But, yeah, I mean,
There's
when
different
you're
ways of
the
breaking it up
deployer,
than 10 hours all at once in one day
yeah.
with 10 players.
Well, and focus on like one thing too, like you got to break it up into different genres and games and walk around and eat lunch.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
we afterwards we toned it down, I think, to like 8 hours and like 6 hours, I think, eventually. Like we
Smart.
kept on toning down the amount of hours that we had.
Yeah, I think we still made it to a free badge, but we never tried for the hotel again. It was too much.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Yeah, more of the GM badge is some cloud, so
Yeah.
rock out.
Yeah.
So you're a pretty avid Gen Con goer. You've how long have you been going to Gen Con?
Oh, I don't know. I think 2008 was maybe my first one. 2008 or 2007.
Oh, really? So
2006.
you weren't part of the original crew that went all the time back
No,
then?
so yeah, the first year that I went, or maybe the second, I think the first year that I went was something like the second year that it was in Indianapolis or something
Okay.
along those lines. Yeah, so I wasn't with the original crew of our people who went to Milwaukee when it was held there.
Huh, yeah, I always imagined you as part of that group. That's interesting because we had this
Nope.
group of people that went to Milwaukee every single year since like 1999 or something like that, wasn't it? Or
Nope.
something?
You hear those wild stories? Nope, I wasn't there for any of that. That was Chuck and Matt and Joe and Mark and some other dude, maybe some other people I don't know, and just some bizarro times apparently.
So what's the major thing? So you got into going, you probably heard about all these stories and stuff like that. You got to Gen Con. What was your experience when your first experience with Gen Con?
Oh, I was blown away. Like I'm from Marshfield, there's like nothing going on up there. So I don't even, natively don't even know what a big convention is, right? Until I live in Madison, and then I work at a hotel that's connected to a convention center. Even then, I still don't know what a big convention is. So
Right,
finally, I get
that's
down to Gen
a
Con.
minor one.
Yep, exactly. So I get down to Gen Con, and it's huge. It's just wall to wall. There's connected buildings, to the center. You never have to go outside, even though it's so fucking hot outside. It stinks everywhere, and like in Indianapolis, which is a big enough town to just stink everywhere. And yeah, my experience with it was that it was so huge. It was so much games. It was all kinds of games. It was any kind of gaming interest. They set up mech pods and card tables and computers to play various games at and zones, and then like giant dice to throw and maybe do some D&D thing and get a thing. And and it's all the free stuff cards that take you around the place, like whoever makes the scavenger hunts for stuff. I would highly recommend, if you've never been to a Gen Con and you are going to Gen Con, that when you do go to Gen Con, you get one of those tour cards that gets you where you're doing stupid shit. It's fun.
Yeah, it takes you around, like it has you do all of the free games and all of the like you get to do basically all the demoing that
And you might
really
win something.
needs.
Shit.
And it's fun. It's so much fun to just kind of go. And then, yeah, the free stuff. I don't know how much they're doing that anymore. I feel like that the last few years, I haven't participated in any of
There's been
the.
less and less merch. Every time there's been less, swag bags, and the swag bags had, I remember like the very first time I ever went to Gen Con, and like my swag bag had in it like a whole game with with a CD code for 1 month free of some rune something, some online. Well, not RuneScape, but I don't know. And then it came with like a deck of Magic cards, and it always had the Gen Con dice in it, and then it also had, the coupon book, which you still get, and the magazine, and it actually came in a bag. Uh, these days, it's just, here's the coupon book, bye. And then you can go to the booth that gives you the dice, and if they have any, you can get one, and the coupons aren't cool really anymore. They're not, and by cool, I mean like, and I get it, this is expensive for these places to give out. Maybe it wasn't profitable for them, or, I don't really understand the economics of it, but like, as a person who goes to Gen Con, I love the place, but yeah, it's definitely become more stingy if there's, and I don't know that it's gotten any better.
Yeah, and I feel like they still have the demo area, but I feel like they don't have the demo cards anymore.
Yeah,
So,
like the companies that were coming in and doing like the big stuff in their booth aren't doing that anymore. Like there used to be like multi-story one, and I don't know if it's regulations and security and safety that's dictates how you can build your booth anymore. I don't know, but like it used to be much more interesting
Yeah.
when
Well, Gen Con has continued to get bigger, but has become less important to the gaming industry as a whole for marketing and like
yeah.
stuff. Like
Well,
a few
positively,
years
it's
ago,
because like they bring in like they're making room for the little guy, right? Like obviously, but has that been good for business? I don't know.
yeah, to a certain extent. I just like to reference a few years ago we went, Josh and I went to go see a retrospective on Vampire the Masquerade, and they were talking about how Gen Con in Milwaukee was the place where you brought your flagship product. You had to get it printed before Gen Con so that it could be there. And it was because the fucking internet didn't exist. You couldn't market anything except at conventions. And
God.
now it's just not that. Demoing at booths isn't as important anymore. Giving big discounts at Gen Con just doesn't work anymore because people only buy shit online. So
Oh, and they're making your game online now too. I mean, like you can play Catan online, you can play Dominion online.
yeah.
You can make any of these simple board games into a digital game that is much smarter about shuffling or losing pieces or scratching a tile or
yep. Losing a
all that
card.
stuff.
Oh my god, that's the crappiest part about a board game is like you lose some important card or something like that. And it's like, oh crap.
Yeah, we're definitely watching like gaming morph from, well, and it's some things that are becoming more tactile. I think we're seeing like more board games are coming into existence than ever have.
Hmm.
We're also seeing more digital board games come into existence, and games that were physical are becoming digital.
Yeah, and then there's Tabletop Simulator that's out there. I'm not sure how
So I have
that
that.
all works out, but it's interesting because like almost every game that's
Yeah, you
there
can
is
download it on the
modded.
mod workshop. Yeah.
Yep. So I don't
Yep,
know
I've
how
got
they got
Clank
away
on
with that
that, and
concept, but
yeah, well, it's because you could just do whatever you want with it. So if you could just take the time and rebuild your favorite game in it, it'll let you.
yeah, I'm just wondering how that legally works out though,
Oh,
because
well, if you're not selling it, then
well, they're selling their game, and then the
well, you're
mods
selling
that
the
come
game, but
along with it are part of the only thing that make the game worth it. Like Tabletop Simulator without mods is like
well, I mean, what's every game but Gary's mod without any settings made
that's
for it,
true, but they're
Like,
not taking another IP and putting it into that game,
no.
and that's what
Well,
this is doing is
yeah,
that it's saying I'm a tabletop simulator game, but I want you to take all these other IPs and I want you to make them for my game and let you play it in my game, and none of those IPs are going to get any of the money from what we're doing here.
yeah, but that's because they're individual person projects being built to replicate that other game. It's not some. So you can't sell Clank the game on. I mean, Clank can sell their official version, through that board game distributor, tabletop, whatever, VR tabletop. But like an individual person couldn't just take their game pieces and scan them in on a scanner and like load them into Photoshop and make all little pieces and load it up, and load their little package into Tabletop Simulator as well and call it Clank as well. And if they set up the rules right, it'll work.
Yep, and as long as they're not making money off of it, I understand that that's kind of a
Yep.
big thing with not
That's the thing.
not
If nobody's making
violating.
money, but people aren't making money because people can do that instead of buying the game, and that's the hitch, right? That's the part where board game companies are like, hey man, you're taking money out of my pie,
Right.
and people who are just like, fuck it, I don't want to pay for it.
Now, I will
But
say the thing about Tabletop Simulator that makes me not so avid about it is that it's really hard to play, to be honest. Like you
oh
have to
yeah, it's
learn the
really touchy.
UI.
Yeah,
And
you have to make sure
like
you
I
don't
really
break
want
it
to
on
get
accident.
a game of Twilight Imperium going on that because the setup for Twilight Imperium is like 2.5 hours, and then the game is like 8 hours, and then
And shuffling cards is so long, just
right,
the whole time. Yeah, I know it is. Yeah, so it's really nice. These games can take that and do the digital, shuffling and randomization and setup of things for us, which is super nice.
yeah, absolutely,
It's like the same kind of upgrade as like when we went from like VHS and audio tapes to CDs. You never had to hit rewind
yeah,
ever again.
yeah. Please
Went away.
rewind. Thank God that's gone.
Yeah. Well, I
Or
mean,
was
like
it Be
like
Kind?
that could be your job. Like a single person's job all day is just rewinding tapes at a store. Probably was. You know.
Right.
I mean, they made little machines that's what they did. They just rewinded them. You could put them on your TV. My mom had one. It was a New Beetle.
Yep, I remember having the tape deck that the only thing that it did was rewind tapes. That's
Yeah.
that's all that it did. Didn't want to burn out the motor on your VCR, so
Yeah, exactly. That thing's also a sensitive thing. I mean, like, just the technology itself is using magnets on a weird strip and a reader to do audio and video. Humans are so roundabout the way that they figure shit out. I mean, not digital is much simpler, but far more complex in terms of what it's made out of.
Yeah, but we don't have to deal with that. That's the beautiful part. I don't have to worry about how all that crap got made. All I got to do is just figure out how to use what they've made. And I can say that it's a lot easier recording shit these days. Because I don't know, were you there when we tried recording at Matt's house? I don't know if you were part of any of those campaigns. There was like a short
Yeah,
period of time where we got
there
like a
was a
tape
time.
deck.
Yep, I remember. Yeah, Matt had it all the time.
Yeah, and so we
We would go
tried
to
like
Quick Trip.
we would try
And
recording things for the game. It was just, I mean, I'm sure we could have spent money to get, better mics for
we
everybody.
didn't have any money.
But yeah, we didn't have any money. We used what, like a tape deck from the 80s or
We
something
used
like
all of our money to get copies of character sheets at the copy machine for 10 cents at Quick Trip. I
Yep.
remember that distinctly.
Yep, we're buying cigarettes. Yep.
Or buying cigarettes. Yeah, well, we smoked. We had to smoke a lot then, back when we were kids.
Yeah, it's very important.
Don't smoke.
Yeah, don't smoke. It's bad for you. We were dumb kids, but and we wasted a lot of
Maybe
money on that shit.
It is expensive. Doesn't really get you anything either.
I don't know. Looks cool some places.
Yeah. Makes you feel cool.
It's got the feeling
Aw,
of
man.
cool.
I can't wait to play some board games with you guys one day.
I can't
What are you
wait.
doing this coming weekend?
What's that?
We're gonna do it at Cabin Con.
Oh yeah, are you going to Cabin Con, Mike? I'm not able to since I'm in Philadelphia. I would go though.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait for vaccine.
Yeah,
Fair
hopefully
enough.
that'll be coming pretty soon. It's kind of a crazy time period that we're
Yeah.
all in this waiting stasis right now, just waiting for the
Yep.
vaccine to
Working
come
from
out to all
home.
of us.
Actually, I keep going into the office, but I'm like the only person there. There's like one other dude there too, most of the time, and that's it.
Yeah, that's what Joanne
It's-
does. She goes into the office because nobody else is there, so she gets to work out of the office, and I get to stay home and work from
Heck
home.
yeah,
so.
the office has gigabit, internet up and down, so it's fast. And I have 2 standing desks. I raided the area, and I just stole some standing desks, and now they're in my office.
Nice.
Yes.
So we're coming up a little bit here. I was wondering, I'm up almost on an hour here. I was just wondering if there's any specific shout outs or projects or anything that you're currently working on that you want to kind of talk about, or any shout outs that you kind of want to give to people.
Oh, sure. Well, shout outs, sure. Well, gosh, shout out to you, Froze. I think, like you've been, I think, a icon in my gaming life the whole time I've been gaming. You've been around. So I think in my life, for the most part, you've been our storyteller. So, like, a lot of my adventuring has been, whatever. It's me trotting the paths of frozen Fallout's damaged psyche.
That's a great way of putting it.
And so yeah, you've shown me a lot of your world, and it's an interesting place. I see a lot of recurring characters throughout the different stories and themes and things like that. So I feel like I have an interesting insight into your part of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you.
Yeah. So I appreciate you putting in all the hard work and just in general having what it takes to be a storyteller. It's tough to be a storyteller sometimes because it's something that I think that you can train and skill up.
Hmm.
But I also think that like you have to have the ability to free think a little bit and pivot and on what your players are doing. Like I often would joke, and I've been a storyteller too for long enough. I often joke that like if I write for about 1 hour before every game, and that's it. And by write, I mean I'm staring at something, trying to think vaguely about what the fuck we're gonna do in this session. If it's not something that's written down for me, so to speak. But and that's it. I give it 1 hour, and I never give it any more than that because if I write more than that, I'm just going to be disappointed because we aren't doing that. We're doing whatever the hell the players. I've written this direction, and they go 3 or 4 steps in, and we immediately take a left. So like. I understand. Like, so I appreciate you. Like, we often do that to you, I think. And you roll with it. You roll with it well.
I
And I
learned
think I got
very,
a bit of
very
that
soon
too.
in my GMing career that pivoting and doing whatever the hell the players want is way better than trying to force them into what you want to do. But I always looked at it as like I give you a buffet of different things to do, and you've got this big train, and if you jump off the train, I'm gonna follow you, but I'm gonna try and get you back onto the train eventually.
Well, yeah, that's kind of how you have to look at it. Like you don't have to necessarily like force them either, but like you can convince them, or
Yeah, give them
uh,
goodies to go that way.
goodies, or like, and if you are gonna force it, it doesn't have to be like this damaging thing. It's just like, whoop, you're there now. The fuck did that happen? You know, like nothing's lost. It's just you've been teleported, or if not teleported, like some other segue just gets you there. Like, and you have to pivot and make that change and make them think that they did it if that's what has to happen. But
Yeah, sometimes that's key.
yeah, like other shout outs, like I guess yeah, I'm always just really happy that I live in a time where game makers are, trying just about anything. Like, there's everything under the sun right now that you could try to play as a game. And so I think right now we're like in a really cool era of experimentation and exploration in tabletop gaming. Whether it be board game, whether it be paper and dice, or some kind of like LARP or mix of all of that, because that's what we're seeing right now is all of these combos. Somebody's trying to find the golden elixir, the golden egg, that's the perfect game. But yeah, I doubt there is one. I think continual iteration is the perfect game. Like maybe somebody should make a game that's a game because what you're trying to do is improve a game
Yeah.
or something. I don't know. This game dev maker already exists, I guess, but I don't know. It's kind of like an interesting thing where we'll always find another way to take our lenses and try to look through them. We'll always try to find a new color or spectrum or interesting type of game method or the way it's received or played or exhibitioned or exhibited or whatever.
Hmm.
So I'm just really excited to live in a time where I know that I can play games until I die, and I will never ever get to play all the games. And kind of the funny thing is like, as I age, I'm just kind of like, it's realizing it's hitting me now. There isn't enough time, and it's okay. There never was enough time.
There is never enough time. That is for sure.
So what that means is you have to pick your favorite games, find them, love them, play them, share them with your friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. As for projects though, for myself, like I'm not like making any games. Like I'm gonna run a Starfinder game, but it's really just it's a campaign that already exists. I'm reading it out of a book, so I'm getting all the material from that. It's Starfinder, which is relatively new. It's been out for a bit. There's been a few books out for it. Um, it's Pathfinder in space. So if you've played any Pathfinder, you know about that storyline a little bit. There's the world of Galarian, where we just mentioned Katapesh. That's where we were playing when we were playing our game in Galarian. Well, Galarian's been destroyed, or it's gone. It's not destroyed necessarily, but
So
nobody knows where Galarian is in
that's the
Starfinder.
planet, right?
Yep, that's the planet. However, the station that was around Galarian is still there in the same space that the planet was in orbit around the sun. So it's an interesting sort of take on everything, and magic has changed. So there's not arcane or divine magic; it's just mysticism. Uh, there's other types of weird alien abilities and different races, but also a smattering of your typical races and classes that you expect. But it's a good. I think it's a good run through for us to learn how to play the game
Yeah.
and see if it hooks us. Like I don't know if it will, honestly. I like futuristic type settings a little bit, honestly, when I'm playing them on a computer, but I don't know that I like playing them as much when I'm D&Ding, I think I like swords and sorcery a bit more uh than the Starfinder stuff. But I still like technology and I still like spaceships. So I want to play it out and see how it feels and see if it's something that it can grow with us at all, or if it's just a one-off goofy.
Yeah, I liked I don't know, I really enjoyed the Star Wars games that we had played over the years, that gave us that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like almost every Star Wars game starts off with us finding a way to steal a ship. Like, in order to own a starship, it's just like, okay, first things first, let's go steal ourselves a starship.
Well, when you're in space, yeah, the Star Wars games. Okay, so I like to play this, but Star Wars is different to me for some reason. I'm categorizing it in my brain differently, so it didn't even occur to me. But yeah, we played a bunch of Star Wars stuff, and I even ran a bunch of
Yeah, did a lot
Saga
of Star
edition
Wars
ones. Yeah, and it's one of those D&D 3.5 ones where I I had a lot of fun with it, but I had a lot of players who wanted to just break the system and just min max so hard. And that game was one that if you did that, you could just break it, and it wasn't any fun for anybody else playing. I'm sure they had a ball, but everybody else was just like, my character doesn't do that. What's wrong?
Yeah,
You know?
the power gaming slash like trying to just crunch all the numbers to get to
Yeah.
that super powerful character. I'm I'm personally just not a person that's really into playing with or doing that myself, just because
Yeah, I don't.
it's
I like
so
to build a concept of a neat idea in my head. And to some people that neat idea is building that min-max character. Look what I made, the most heroic, you know, whatever O type of this guy. And it's like, yay. But like if you're playing with a group of people who aren't doing that, you're not playing the same game.
right. Yep, no, exactly. And it's I don't know. It's an interesting kind of thing, but yeah, I that's one of the reasons why I've focused a lot more moving away from Dungeons and Dragons as a GM, is because there's so much min-maxing that goes on there. Now you can do it in the World of Darkness, absolutely. I mean, tons of people try to min-max in the World of Darkness. It's actually a little bit easier to min-max.
It's just really hard to correct for in D&D.
It's really hard to correct for in D&D, and D&D is about the numbers. It's about the math. It's about the fighting.
It is.
It's about the mechanics. And the role play is there. There's absolutely role play, but there's
Oh
absolutely
yeah,
playing D&D with zero role play at all. You could play a very fun game of Dungeons and Dragons and have almost absolutely no role playing between the players or even the characters that the GM are
sure.
playing. That you're just a bunch of adventurers that are going out hunting down monsters, killing stuff, and going through dungeons and doing dungeon crawls all day long. Which is
Yeah,
why
yeah. It's
I've
got a
kind of
sweet loot system.
right, yeah,
It tells you how much to award for what. You bet. Yeah,
right,
yeah. I mean, and people like playing that way. Sure.
yep.
I mean, one could argue you could play World of Darkness like that too. It
You
wouldn't
could.
be any fun.
It'd be
But
way less fun than Dungeons and Dragons, I think, in that way because it's
yeah,
just
no. Dungeons and
mechanically not
Dragons
as
is built from the
superior.
ground up to include that in that way exactly.
Right.
Uh,
And World of Darkness is built from the ground up around the concept of role playing.
yeah,
And so
I would agree.
that's kind of what got me a lot more into World of Darkness as a GM. I don't mind. I like playing in Dungeons and Dragons these days, and I probably will run a Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder or some kind of fantasy setting game, at Gen Con one of these years. Because I have some ideas on like Hallowstar's dungeon that I like.
Oh yeah,
Kind of
that
like
was
it's
fun.
a mix of Diablo
This is
3
Diablo 3. Yeah,
with
just
Hallowstar's dungeon.
yep.
You get killed, that's fine. You get resurrected and thrown back, and all your loot drops on the ground. So if the whole party dies, you just end up, back at the top, with some loss of experience and
Yeah, that was
gotta go
fun.
back down.
I think that Hallowstar's Dungeon is a lot of fun because again, yeah, there's no story. You're just fighting stuff.
Right.
Or if there's a story, you can just ignore it. It doesn't matter. You just fight whatever's in front of you. Good job.
Yep.
Get treasure. Keep going deeper. And that's great for something at Gen Con, especially if you're not expecting to have the same people play year in and year out. It can just be anybody. Oh, what is it? Is it hack and slash? Awesome.
Yep. Just jump in and start killing stuff.
Yep. I'm just gonna roll some dice and get some gear and kill some things.
Yep.
Yep. Sure.
Awesome.
Sounds like
Awesome.
Adventure League.
What's that?
Sounds like Adventure League.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're coming up on an hour here, so I'm just gonna throw out a few shout outs here for some of the other podcasts that are out there that are doing some really great stuff. And also wanted to thank you so much, Coder, for being on the show here. So definitely check out Twin Cities by Night. They do a lot of actual plays of a lot of different games, not just World of Darkness. They do all different types of games. They had originally started off with World of Darkness, but they've expanded out to tons of cool different things, and they do some really great editing to really give you kind of a product for their actual plays that sounds very professionally made comparatively to a lot of other stuff that I've seen out there compared to us, for sure. Also check out Midnight Express podcast. They're the ones that really got me into or he's the one that got me into podcasting in general after being on his show when we were talking about what we were doing for our Gen Con stuff. He's got some really great World of Darkness stuff, and definitely check that out. Just tons and tons of stuff for you to kind of check out in his podcast. Utility Muffin Labs has some really great podcasts, as well as World of Dark Ages and Mage the Podcast, all really great podcasts for you guys to check out. And if you enjoyed the show that we were giving you here, go ahead and give us a follow or a like or whatever the hell this stuff is. For we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Instagram is just a bunch of stuff about my cats. So if you like cat pics, two cats that love to cuddle with each other, that's my
Everybody likes
Instagram.
cat pics. And don't forget to tune into our Mage game on Monday nights, Techno Gate, at 7 p.m. Central Time on Twitch at twitch.tv/Golden Age Stories. And remember, that's Gul'dan spelled Guldan.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for watching this week, and we will be back next week at 7 o'clock Central Time. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great night.
Thanks for having me.
Good night.
Good night.